Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, a blast from the past from Imagineering, World Princess Week, 70 hours of celebrations in Anaheim.
Some Disneyland Resort Hotel perks are leaving, Halloween changes, we talked to David Sparks about Disneyland, and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Mika Nala Krista! Blah! Hi, this is DL Weekly. Family. Good. You listen? Okay. Don't forget Ohana.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of August 27th, 2025. I'm Teg Bushman.
And I'm Teresa Urban. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show, but this week we would like to give a special shout out to Amy A. for becoming a new supporter, but also to Brittany R., Kat W., and Soshana R. for your continued support. If you would like to help support the show to get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only Discord chat, and a bunch of other fun perks like we just announced our new book club title and the schedule for that. Plus, there's some spooky trivia in the works coming for the Halloween season as well. Head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Destination D23, the East Coast version of the D23 Ultimate Fan Event in Anaheim, is taking place August 29th through the 31st. D23 Gold members are invited to join a selection of the event online on Saturday, August 30th, and Sunday, August 31st. The stream will feature select panels, including the Welcome from Michael Vargo, the panel for Ex Atencio, the Untold Story of a Disney Legend, the Be Our Guest with Disney on Broadway, and the Beyond the Spires, an insider look at Disney castles, and many more. Check out the link in our show notes to sign up and see all the details.
This is crazy. I'm super excited about this. This is an event that we have not been able to go to and be in person, but this is the next best thing, right? So I just did a quick count. So there's 5 panels just in the morning for Saturday, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 that afternoon. So there's a total of 9 panels that you can join and watch virtually that range from all sorts of things like Tag mentioned, plus others. That's just wild. So this is open to any and all gold members. Of course, the link will be in the show notes, or you can just go to the D23 website to find the information there. But super, super cool. Another thing that I wanted to mention real quick is if you are not a D23 gold member just yet, you haven't decided to jump in for all of the goodness quite yet, there is another way that you can join these panels. If you are a Disney Plus member, I just learned this and I was like floored, and I don't know how I missed this. Disney Plus has launched a new program called Disney Plus Perks. One of the perks that you can take advantage of right now is you can become a D23 Gold member for free through your Disney Plus membership or subscription, or however you want to call it. It does not come with any of the physical goodies, so you don't get a physical membership card, you don't get any of the the little welcome packet or anything, but you do still get a digital card, and you still get access to fun events like this. So I think it's so cool.
That is neat.
Cool, both things are cool. I think that they're streaming this is super, super cool, and I think it's really neat that they have this extra perk for your Disney Plus folks to be able to join and be a gold member for D23 as well.
That is really neat that you found that. I'm excited for, first of all, I feel like I've done a really bad job of catching the gold theater kind of things through the D23 membership program. So I looked at my calendar for these 2 days. I don't have anything planned for these 2 days. So I'm very excited to finally watch something that I haven't, I was able to watch one, but it was one that we had gone to, which was kind of funny. But anyway, I'm excited for this. This is the other event where they talk about things for the future.
They do.
So it'll be exciting to see what they're going to talk about now. I'm hoping, this is mostly catered towards the East Coast stuff, but I'm hoping maybe we get an update on Avengers Campus, because that building is coming together very fast.
Oh, I think we're going to get some Disneyland updates, because what happened while you were on the cruise was there was information released about Walt Disney World projects that either we knew were in the works and we got more details, including like more concept art, or in the case of the Zootopia show that's coming to Animal Kingdom, we got an opening date for that. But they also released information about like they're refreshing Big Thunder Mountain, and they're kind of plussing some of the areas to kind of enhance the storyline too. So we've gotten some exciting Walt Disney World updates. So I feel like that just left extra room for Disneyland updates to happen at Destination D23. So I'm extra excited.
I feel like you might be doing the same thing I did with the fact that I thought they were going to announce a new Tomorrowland at D23, where I'm like, it's coming, and then it was a bunch of other stuff. But
I think we're going to get something.
Either way, I think any news is good news.
That's
so
true.
I'm hoping that we hear some cool stuff from Destination D.
Fans of the Disney Channel at the turn of the century might remember a mini-matronic named Tom Morrow 2.0. Well, he's back, hosting Imagineer That on the Walt Disney Imagineering YouTube channel. Imagineer That was a mini show on the Disney Channel that answered questions about Imagineering, including the science, storytelling, and engineering behind the attractions in Disney parks. Tom Morrow is doing all of that again on YouTube, talking to the Imagineers of today about these same topics. The first episode is out now, and the link is in our show notes.
So I really enjoyed this. I was only sad because it's only like a 5-minute video, I want to say, like 4 to 5 minutes. But they actually crammed quite a bit of information into that 4-minute video, talking about a bunch of cool stuff going on with Imagineering. So do you think this is an addition to the Imagineering stuff that they put on YouTube before, or do you think this is like replacing that?
I'm wondering if it's, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe it's in addition, since it's got a different name. But Who knows? Who knows? Because the little sneak peeks that we were getting before were not called Imagineer. You know, the series wasn't called Imagineer That.
Right.
So
That's because that one was called They Call It Imagineering.
Yep, they call it Imagineering.
So I was just wondering if it was going to replace that or what. So
I don't know. It's hard to say because I just want something with more like regularity. So like I'm looking back right now at the Walt Disney Imagineering YouTube page, and like it was just like a couple that we'd see a year. So I'm hoping that maybe we can maybe get more of a schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know, because there's even like Test Track, like they've got some updated things like Test Track Wed Rise with Disney Imagineers, which is not called We Call It Imagineering. But there was also other ones that were kind of, I need to catch up on this YouTube page because I was only watching the We Call It Imagineering ones. I missed other things. Anyways, that's
I'm also seeing this for the first time, so we'll have to go check out the Walt Disney Imagineering YouTube channel is what we're learning from all of this.
Yes, because there's more there than we knew what we thought was there. Woo-hoo.
Well, this week is World Princess Week. Also, I'd like to just use this moment since we're talking World Princess Week. I'll give you a sneak peek. We have an interview with Brandon from Spirit Jersey that's going to air at the end of September, or towards the end.
We just, like, in real time, finished our interview with him right before we recorded this episode.
Yeah. So they are actually doing a release of Princess Spirit Jerseys.
Yes. So
if you want to be part of that when it's first coming out, go to spiritjersey.com to look at that, because they're pretty cool. The ones that are out so far that we saw there was a Tangled, a Moana, and a Little Mermaid one that just launched. There's another one as we record this that launches in like 12 hours.
Yeah. So, and they're releasing one a day for 7 days. So there's going to be 7 unique princess themed Spirit Jerseys released directly by Spirit Jersey. So you don't have to go to the parks. You don't have to go to Shop Disney or DisneyStore.com to purchase these. You can go right to Spirit Jersey and get these for yourself. They were really neat. I just need to say real quick, the inspiration, and you'll hear more about this from Brandon, was kind of to give it the feel of what the like covers looked like. So like when you look at the Little Mermaid Spirit Jersey, you'll recognize like the back has the logo from what the VHS cover looked like. And so they're kind of a nod to what the movie art or movie, you know, whether it was a DVD sleeve or a VHS sleeve, what that kind of looked like. Or in Moana's case, they kind of, you know, made up what that would have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, very, very cool. So also very fun interview that you get to look forward to coming in the next month.
And now back to our regularly scheduled news.
Yes.
So, with it being World Princess Week, to celebrate, Disney has a whole lineup of things to take part in. On August 29th, the Disney YouTube channel will host a royal concert from Disneyland Park. It was filmed in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle and features voice talent like Jodie Benson, who is Ariel from The Little Mermaid, Paige O'Hara, who is Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Anika Nani Rose, who is Tiana from Princess and the Frog, and Aului Carvalho, who was Moana from Moana and Moana 2, Jennifer Goodwin, who was Snow White from the Once Upon a Time show, and Susan Egan, who was Meg from Hercules, host the concert. A royal ride-along will feature Jodie... this is a separate thing now. A royal ride-along will feature Jodie Benson taking viewers through Ariel's Undersea Adventure on YouTube as well. Disney Plus is hosting a marathon of Princess Classics, along with a Lego Disney Princess Villains Unite original show. There is so much more. Visit the link in our show notes for all the details. There is so much princess stuff going on.
There is a lot of princess stuff going on. And I was just the other thing too, Jennifer Goodwin, who played Snow White in Once Upon a Time and is also the voice of Judy Hopps for Zootopia, was actually just spotted in the park. There's a Instagram account that we follow that is like celebrity. I don't know. They report on when there's celebrity sightings in the park. And Jennifer was one of the people that they spotted. So I thought she was just there enjoying a Disney day with her family, but I bet you she was probably there working too.
It's true.
But yeah, super, super fun. And I love that Disneyland's getting some TLC because I feel like usually these specials get filmed over at Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see Disney getting a little extra attention for the 70th anniversary.
That's because I can speak from experience. It is blazing hot over in Florida right now, so they probably want to be in Southern California better.
Well, the Disneyland Resort celebrated its 70th anniversary by spreading magic over 70 hours across Anaheim from August 20th through August 22nd, 2025, with surprise events including school celebrations, senior sock hops, visits to first responders, veterans, and families. Live entertainment, Disney characters, gifts, and community connections were brought to neighborhoods throughout the city. The festivities included generous acts such as donation vouchers for schools, story times and sing-alongs at libraries, and a $50,000 gift to the Anaheim High School Chamber Singers, all aimed at fostering joy and support across the community. The closing highlight featured a spirited halftime show at Catella High School's football game, complete with dance teams, a Disneyland band performance, character appearance, popcorn, and giveaways.
There was so much that happened in the 70th hours. I started writing this, and as I was scrolling, I'm like, it just keeps going.
And there was stuff like overlapping, so there'd be something happening at this, like 3 different schools kind of all overlapping at the same time. I was looking at it from how amazing is it that they're doing so much to give back to the communities, but B, the logistics of making all of these little mini events happen, because like we mentioned, character meet and greets, there were giveaways, there were games, there were princess story time stuff, all sorts of different activities going on, and all, like I said, kind of happening all at once, which is just a feat in and of itself.
Absolutely. Also, one of the things I wanted to point out was the author, Ridley Pearson, who wrote the Kingdom Keepers books, was also there at Ponderosa Elementary and read to the students.
How neat is that? So full write-up, if you want to hear and read more about all of these wonderful events and all the different ways that Disney gave back, of course, is in our show notes, but it just amazing. Absolutely wild how much they did in that 70 hours.
Yeah. Well, Disney giveth, Disney taketh away. Starting in 2026, changes to perks at the Disneyland Resort hotels will be happening. The first big change is the discontinuation of early entry starting on January 5th. Instead, guests will be given 1 Lightning Lane per guest per stay. Pixar Pier Hotel guests will also lose their private entrance into Disney California Adventure. Guests can still use the Grand Californian entrance. This also takes place on January 5th.
So being a Disney travel planner or travel planner specializing in Disney, I have mixed feelings on this. Being someone that doesn't stay on property, to me, early entry is 30 minutes. That was not, for me, a reason to spend the money that you're spending to stay on property. So I can understand why some people are disappointed in that, and I can understand why some people don't feel that the 1 Lightning Lane changeover makes up for it. But to me, that's is it sad that went away? Yes, but I don't know if that was necessarily how many people that's a make or break for. I could be totally wrong, but that's just how I see it. The other thing that's interesting though is the Pixar Pier gate. They just updated all the turnstiles for that gate. Disney just spent, just invested in that. So I'm really surprised that that's going away. But what the rumor is, of course, Disney has not released anything officially, is that the Pixar Place gate was just not being utilized. So people, it was they put it in after the fact. It wasn't planned for, like the Grand Californian gate obviously was planned for. So it was a little bit difficult for people to find.
It was difficult for us to find it. We were looking for it.
Yeah, both on like the park side, like when you're in the park trying to find it, it almost looked like you were maybe going into an area you should have been going, like it was backstage. And then from the street side too, it was a little difficult to find. I think a lot of guests were going into the Grand Californian because, again, it basically the gate for the Pixar Place Hotel guests was you were walking through the Grand's property,
sure,
or the Grand's grounds to get back to where that was. So it makes sense to then just have them go through and use the same gates as the Grand. However, that then adds to the congestion of people trying to use the downtown Disney and the DCA gate for the Grand Californian. So those lines are going to be longer because now that area is servicing 2 hotels worth of guests when it was designed to only be for 1. So that one actually, I think, is a little bit bigger of a loss than early entry. But again, that's just me.
I think that people's complaint here is that unlike Disney World, where there are a lot of perks at staying at a higher end, pricier per night Disney resort, Disneyland, you could stay at what some people, I will say I'm one of those, that you could stay at comparable accommodations across the street for much less, that things like early entry were like an added bonus that you literally cannot get anywhere else. Like if you wanted that perk, you had to book at the Disneyland Hotel or the Grand Californian or whatever. The Lightning Lane, I thought, okay, well, that's a cool way to do it because really the reason you do the early entry is because you want to get on an attraction quicker. Mm-hmm. So if you had a Lightning Lane for that, that's pretty cool. I think that what it should be, I think that they should tweak this a little bit to be, because the way they did early entry before was that the parks would rotate, right? So Disneyland was early one day and then DCA was the next day, whatever. I think what they should do is they should say, okay, for 2-night stays, you get 1. For 3 and 4-night stays, you get 2. Like, depending on how long it is, you get more.
Oh, for your Lightning Lane?
Yeah, because then, it makes sense.
Or 1 Lightning Lane per night.
The gate, I just feel like was never executed very well. I just don't think it was saving that much time to go in that way. My question for you, actually, about entry is, like Disneyland for me, I much prefer going in the front proper gates of Disneyland. Even though I love the monorail, it doesn't feel, especially at the beginning of a trip, it wouldn't feel right for me to always come into Tomorrowland. Like, that's just weird. So I feel like these other entrances, like coming into the Redwood Creek area or coming into the Pixar Pier area, just feels weird. Like, I want to come in through the front, and I know that so it's weird.
So it depends on how you're looking at it. I get what you're saying, like with Disneyland and having the nostalgia of going through the turnstiles and seeing the train station and having the entering the park as Walt intended you to enter the park. So when we stayed at the Disneyland Hotel for our wedding, we did use the monorail a couple of times to pop in at Tomorrowland at park opening, because the nice thing about doing that is there's far less people in Tomorrowland at park opening than there are at the front gate. So you can kind of use those secondary entrances to your advantage to kind of get ahead of crowds a little bit more. So it's almost like a bonus to a rope drop because you're ahead of the rope when it drops. So same thing I would assume with the Grand, their private entrance. You're a little bit further down the way, and especially if you use that Pixar one, because then you're at the far end of the park, which it takes a lot of people to get to when they're going through the front turnstile gate. But so I think there were advantages, and it was definitely a closer walk with that Pixar Place one, because it was you didn't have to go all because Pixar Place is basically at the backside of DCA. So to go all the way to the front gates to then
But I think
go all the way back
I
up.
think as they expand the resort, I think
it'll
Pixar
change.
Place will get a new entrance to whatever ends up being next to them.
I think this is fluid. I think things are changing, and I think even like the one lightning lane per guest per stay is fluid and could change, because if that's an easy thing for them to adjust, whereas park hours and having the park open those extra 30 minutes, then you have to have it, then it's staffed.
Sure.
Not just for those extra 30 minutes.
Security,
it's
all the cast
another
members,
at least hour ahead of when people are coming into the park. So that's a budget cutting thing.
Sure.
So I'm just, and I get it, because it used to be way back in the day. I think this was pre-COVID. It was an hour, which to me that's worthwhile. An hour is much more worthwhile, whereas 30 minutes, it's better than none.
I have a question as a travel planner.
Yeah.
My mom, does this exist anymore? My mom used to buy a package from Walt Disney Travel Company, and as part of the package, you'd book your, and I know this exists, but like you'd book the hotel, you'd book your tickets, but they would offer things like you'd get early entry one of the days as part of the package, and like you can knock on, like you get a voucher for a free breakfast, not free, but like as part of the package. Like, is that exist anymore?
Yeah, what they have now is if you book a package through the Walt Disney Company, you can either contact your friendly concierge and we'd be able to help you, or if you book it directly on your own, what you do is you get your hotel, your tickets. That's what makes up your package, is getting those two things together. There's all sorts of perks to that, but there's additional extras like you're talking about. There isn't extra like early entry or anything like that. That's only for on property hotel stays, but you do get to stop at, there's 3 different areas off the top of my head. There's a couple areas in downtown Disney and one inside of Disneyland that you can go pick up your like magical extras, is what they call them. So everybody that is on the reservation, so that means you have a ticket linked to that reservation, gets a lanyard with 2 pins plus a voucher that gets you 10% off different dining locations in downtown Disney. So that's like the extra perks.
So you don't get like a voucher for like a $15 worth of breakfast. It's you get all these fun.
You get like a little discount card. That you can use multiple times and like I said, it's specifically for downtown Disney locations.
Yeah, because I just remember as part of the ticket, it was like, this was back in the day when you had the physical tickets, so they'd like stamp the ticket.
Oh, sure.
And one of the like lines was like your early entry morning, and like once that was stamped, like that was it for that ticket.
Done. Yep.
So I just didn't know if they still offered something like that. So
not in that sense. No.
Gotcha. Well, it's good to know. See, it's great to have somebody who knows all this stuff now.
Insider knowledge.
Yeah.
I've been learning a ton. I thought I knew a lot before.
See, guys, this is why you need to book with a travel planner instead of just trying to do it yourself, because there's lots of things you may not even be aware of.
Learning. I mean, I haven't been doing it that long, obviously, but even today I learned several new things that I'm like, what? And found extra ways to help folks save money, which was just mind-boggling to me.
People would love saving money.
I know. Who doesn't love saving money? Well, Halloween time has officially begun at Disneyland, and some of the decorations have been updated for this year. Along Main Street, the decorations on the lampposts have lost the Halloween time text and now feature fall foliage along with the little pumpkin Mickey. In the hub, the Critter Country pumpkin that featured Winnie the Pooh has been replaced with a Bayou Country pumpkin featuring Princess Tiana.
So I have not told James about this yet. He is a huge fan of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, no.
He's going to be very sad that this is gone.
Don't tell him that it existed and is gone.
I think he knew it existed.
Oh, okay.
So
I was going to say, that's going to make it worse if you tell
what do
him.
you think the deal is with the missing Halloween time signage? That
sure.
seems like an interesting change.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say, unless they're going to keep it up longer, but they won't keep it up longer because they shift. If they were trying to bridge holidays to Thanksgiving, but they won't do that. They'll just go right to winter
Maybe
time.
they're waiting to put it up, like, because maybe they're trying to wait. Like pumpkins and stuff can still feel fall-like, so maybe they're waiting until like September comes around. But the celebration has kind of started, so I'm probably wrong. But it's just interesting.
The thing that is unique this year, though, is it's still the 70th celebration, so you still will see 70th decor along with the like Halloween fall time decor, which is interesting. They didn't like go with a like swap out and have like fall themed 70th decor. Does that make sense? It's still the bright colored thing. So in some areas it's a little it's interesting seeing the mixture of the two celebrations together, but I get it. I think it's interesting. They've actually announced that the 70th is going through next summer. So there's still plenty of time to go check out the 70th celebration. But yeah, and there's even interesting things too, because like Paint the Night, right, is going during the Halloween time season. It's stopping during
for Christmas.
Christmas and holiday time. So that's interesting too.
So it'll be there when we're there?
It'll be
that's
there
exciting.
when we're there. In October. Yes, it will still be there.
James and I are obsessed with that parade, so it'll be great for him to see it again.
It is a good parade.
The Tiana pumpkin looks really great, too. This looks like those fancy, like, I don't know, this one feels super detailed.
Yeah. I'm very curious. The only photo I've seen thus far is just daytime. I'm very curious to see what it looks like when it's dark and illuminated. Because that's right. That's really when you want to see. That's how you need to see a jack-o'-lantern. That's how it's intended to be seen.
Yeah. Well, Haunted Mansion Holiday has returned once again this year. Changes to the attraction include an updated gingerbread house in the ballroom, like usual. This year, the gingerbread house doesn't seem to be as animated as it has been in the past. The Oogie Boogie at the end of the attraction has also been updated and is much more fluid than the previous animatronic, which debuted back in 2003.
So the mansion gingerbread, we'll start there, is interesting because it doesn't have anything that's specific to Nightmare Before Christmas as far as theming goes.
It's true.
The crows or the ravens, which is very much a Haunted Mansion thing because, right, it's the raven that's following you around and is kind of your narrator, if you will, or your ghost host. So it's more of a nod to the original than Nightmare. I like it. I don't have any, I don't know. I don't think every year it needs to be big and crazy. And
I just feel like they kind of set a precedent that they were kind of trying to outdo themselves every time. And of course, like with anything, you can't keep that up forever. Yeah. So
the one thing that is neat that I don't think we threw in the news that kind of goes along with the gingerbread house is they unveiled the display in the Grand Californian lobby, and that is Nightmare Before Christmas theme. So one side is Jack and Sally on the spiral hill.
Okay. And
like the moon is big and behind them. And on the other side of it, you can actually see Jack and Sally's silhouette through the moon. So it's like some sort of sheer something.
Cool.
And Oogie Boogie's on the backside. And it looks like he's kind of in the graveyard at Halloween Town. So
nice.
They had two very detailed and very cool things they were doing. So maybe that's why. Because usually I feel like the Grand Californian display doesn't debut with the start of the season. It usually shows up a little bit later.
Yeah.
So.
And it's starting so early this time.
So what are your thoughts on Mr. Oogie Boogie?
I did go find a video of it because I was like, the Mice Chat article that we saw this from didn't have a video in it. So I went in and looked at a video and it looked really good. I thought it looked really good.
I don't know where I saw it.
He looked funky last year. He wasn't moving hardly at all.
No,
so.
And his head was kind of tilted weird. And he needed the TLC. So I'm really excited to see him in person somewhere. And I am very sad that I don't remember where it was that I saw it so that I could throw it in the show notes for everyone to enjoy. Someone did a comparison. They did a side by side.
Oh, geez.
So they did a this is what it looked like last year versus this is what it looks like this year, because not a lot of people, I think, noticed that he got the update. But when you look at them together, it's like, ooh. Yeah.
I remember was it last year or was it the year before? I don't know. The last time I saw it in person, he was not moving very much.
Well, there was one time we went through and his head was
you commented
down and off. I was like, oh no.
I also want to say, totally unrelated to all this, there is if you've wondered what the ADA entrance area looked like, Mice Chat finally has some photos of the hallway that you come in from. So if you're curious, visit the link in our show notes. Those pictures are there with it. Because I've been really curious about this and have not had any reason to go down it. But Mice Chat was able to get some photos of that area so you can kind of see what that hallway looks like. And I thought they did a pretty good job theming it for just being an ADA hallway.
Yeah, it's really nice. This next story is a little better late than never type of news, but we have 2 new 70th anniversary inspired Coca-Cola bottles that will be debuting at the resort. The new designs are on the original taste and zero sugar bottles and feature jeweled tone sparkles and a motif of Sleeping Beauty Castle. The original has purple, yellow, and orange colors, with the zero featuring purple, blue, and fuchsia. The new bottles will launch at the resort on September 1st.
I don't really have much to say about this. It's just kind of like some iconography on the Coke bottles, but
It's
that's
cute.
cool.
It's
it
fun.
seems weird that it took so long after the 70th.
I'm kind of curious about that. But yeah, so these will only be available at the Disneyland Resort. So if you are a Coca-Cola collector or a Disney collector, or you just think they're fun and cool, check out the Disneyland Resort next time you're there again. September 1st is when these are launching and should be available at the parks.
Yeah, my brother in a previous life, he was a huge collector of Coke stuff. He had tons of Coke stuff. He would have been all about this, I'm sure.
I think it's fun because it's like a nod back to, because didn't Coca-Cola start with the park? Like, weren't they there on opening day?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Coca-Cola had been around for a long time, but like,
No. But like, yeah, Coca-Cola has been offered in the
Yes.
park since opening day. That's
Yeah.
a better way to say
Yeah.
it. Not that the companies both started.
I also want to just mention, too, we were talking about this before recording. So James and I just went to Universal, Epic Universe, and regular Universal in Florida, and Islands
Universal
of Adventure.
Studios.
Yeah, Studios and Islands of Adventure. And the cruise we went on, both had Coke Freestyle machines, and we bought the little thing, and I was like, Disney should have this, because you get a themed bottle, and you pay, I think it was like $16, $18 for the day, and there's a little sensor, and you put it there, and you can select your thing. Like, I know Disney makes a ton of money off of selling, like, the paper cups or whatever, but I just wish they would do that at Disneyland.
At Disneyland is the key word there, because they do have a service similar
In Disney World?
in Disney World.
Why not Disneyland?
I don't know.
Because even when we were at Six Flags, by the way, bonus episode out, if you're interested in that, go check that out. James and I talked about our Six Flags experience. They had a cup thing there that you could buy for like the whole season. Like, why would they not sell this as like a Magic Key add-on or something? Like, because they're making more money selling it at the same price to everybody, I guess. But it was nice because, like, one of the nice things that I thought was when it was really hot, you could also just get really cold water from it.
Yeah.
Like, so I didn't even fill it up with soda all the time, but like, and it was insulated, so it was nice. It like kept it cold, and it was better for the environment because you just get the cup and you keep reusing it. I don't know. I just wish Disneyland had it. That's all.
I agree. But yeah, Walt Disney World, if you do a dining package, you get like a resort mug. And you can have, there's filling stations at the resorts, but then there's also filling stations like at the parks.
Are they the freestyle machines? Probably.
I don't know if they're all freestyle machines or if some of them are just like OG fountains.
I feel like this is really weird and a tangent, but I don't know why, but I never really liked freestyle machines. I don't know. There's something about it that like, I don't know. I think it's because everywhere I've experienced them, not at a theme park, and actually even at a theme park, but everywhere I've experienced them, people are better now, I guess, but people have generally been unsure, or there's so many choices
you get like
that people sit there and they're staring at it for so long, and I'm like, can you just, I know what I want. Can you just move so I can get what I want?
That is the tough part with it, because it's only the one fountain, whereas if it's like the line and somebody goes for Diet Coke and you want Sprite, you can both use the same machine at the same time.
So anyway, but it's a really cool invention. I think the idea of like having it with a chip or something that can do the things was really cool.
Maybe someday. Maybe someday.
We have to get the snacks for Tag and Teresa and James and Bern. Oh, and Cinderella. Time for snack chat.
Well, this week for Snack Chat, we are almost done, Teresa. We have one more location after tonight.
Holy buckets.
Yeah.
We need to, 2 weeks from now, future Snack Chat, this is what we should do. Write it down so we don't forget. We should plan out our October trip and get, I don't know, at least one, probably more than one, new location or dining location we don't typically eat at. And we should kind of like pre-plan what locations we're going to revisit, if you will. Because like,
well, we've talked about all
I'm
of
not
them.
going to say that this is my vote, but like Alien Pizza Planet, we never go to Alien Pizza Planet for good reason. But there's other places that we just kind of like forget about in the moment when we're there, and we just always go to our same, the same favorite. So we should try and like be more intentional, and like that can be Snack Chat in a couple of weeks.
I don't think I mentioned this on the show,
Pre-planning.
but I definitely mentioned in our Discord chat. I came across a video. There's actually a series of them, I've realized now, that they did. It was like Business Insider or something, did this thing. They had a Disney person and a foodie, and they went to the park, and they were like, let's find the best like food, the best meal or something in Disneyland. So I'm like, okay, well, let's watch this and see like what places they chose. They chose Lamplight Lounge, which I think is a solid choice, by the way. They went there, they got the lobster
Good
nachos and
start.
some stuff. The first place they actually went to, the very first place, like chronologically in their show, was they went to Pim Test Kitchen for breakfast, which I also thought was a pretty decent,
Yep, that's a
decent
good one.
option. Then they went to Tiana's. Great. I thought, okay, well, maybe they'll do like Blue Bayou or, I mean, there's
something
lots of
big
options.
to wrap
No,
us up.
They wrapped us up at Alien Pizza Planet, and both of the people
Yeah.
were like, you could just tell that they were trying to make the best of it, but they were not that impressed with any of the food that they had. They did
Yeah.
like the alien macaroon, but then there was the whole conversation about the macaroon versus macaron, and why was it a macaroon when it was a macaron?
Oh, sure.
Anyway, weird
You
thing.
digress.
Anyway, snack chat this week. We're talking about Jack Jack cookie num nums, which did you like? I feel like you ate here? We ate here, but
We've had a cookie num num before, yeah. We've
did we
experienced
like
one.
it? I thought it was just fine. I think.
Yeah, to me, I've had better cookies. In fact, I'm going to say I enjoy the Harbor
Yeah.
Galley cookies more than I enjoyed
Yeah.
a cookie num num. But I do know that for some folks, it's like their kind of like tradition to ride the
Sure.
Incredicoaster and get a cookie num num after the Incredicoaster. It is a good shareable cookie because
That's
it is
true.
quite large. But yeah, just wasn't like, it didn't knock my socks off.
Yeah. Well, you can get a Jack Jack cookie num num with it's a warm chocolate chip cookie for $8.75 as we record this.
Or the Incredicookie, which is gluten friendly and it's a jam filled cookie.
You know, that might be interesting. Jam filled.
And there is Dunkin'. Ooh, this is good to note. Dunkin' Donuts Grab and Go coffee. There's also chocolate milk, vanilla almond milk, 1% milk, and soy milk.
Which I think this makes sense because, like, you might want
Yes.
cookies and milk.
Yes, it definitely
Where's
does.
the other place we're going?
The other place is one of my favorite stops in DCA, and that, of course, is the adorable Snowman Frosted Treats. So this is kind of DCA's version of, like, Dole Whips, I guess would be a good way of saying it, because they are non-dairy soft serves, fruit flavored. So we've got It's Lemon, which is interesting because you can get lemon, mango, or raspberry flavors if you order It's Lemon.
I didn't know you could get it in a cup or a cone. I've
Yeah.
only seen it in a cup.
Yeah. So how you order it, though, is if you want lemon, you say it's lemon. If you want mango, you say it's mango. And if you want raspberry, you guessed it, you say it's raspberry.
Or if you can't make up your mind, you can order the It's a Flight,
There you
which
go.
has all of them.
One of my favorite treats, especially in the summer, is this next offering, the Pixar Pier Frosty Parfait. So it comes with a choice. However, the original is the lemon soft serve, and then it comes with like a blue raspberry like slushy, and it's topped with a cherry. And something about the lemon soft serve with the blue raspberry slushy, the mixture of that, delicious.
And then just like with the It's Lemon, It's Raspberry, and It's Mango, there is a trio of It's Lemon and Mango Swirl, It's Raspberry and Lemon Swirl, or It's Raspberry and Mango Swirl, and they have a choice of cup or cone with the soft serve.
There's also different specialties they have, so you can get like chili lime on your soft serve choices. And they also have something called where it's snow cap. So they like dunk it in like a white chocolate. So you know, like if you go to Dairy Queen, how you like the Dilly Bar has like so it's like that, but it's white chocolate topped on your lemon, mango, or raspberry soft serve.
And of course, they have some alcoholic beverages. They have the chili lime mango margarita. They have the Pixar Pure Frosty Parfait with spiced rum. And you can just get a soft serve with spiced rum as well, or a bottle of water.
But yeah, if you're going, get the Pixar Pure Parfait. You can get it NA original, or you can get it with a splash of rum. Both are very, very good. I will say when you get it with rum, it does melt much, much faster.
Oh, yeah.
And that slushy becomes liquid very fast, but very, very delicious. Other fun fact, I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but just a reminder, Adorable Snowman Frosted Treats now has mobile order, which I think is huge because it only has like 1 or 2 little order windows, and that's it. It's not a very big location, so the line on a hot summer day would get very, very long. So I think adding mobile order makes sense for this location.
Well, if you could get 10% off of your support of the podcast and only have to pay once a year instead of monthly, would that be enough to make the final push to become an official weekly tier and get some of the great perks as well? Well, if so, we're offering just that. Head on over to DLWeekly.net/support to sign up or convert your existing support level now. This might be better for some folks who just want to pay once a year, like in one lump instead of like a little bunch every month.
You come seeking questions and long-lost Disney information, eh? Sure, you come to the proper place, but keep a weather eye open, mates, and hold on tight, with both hands, if you please. There be squalls ahead, and James and Vern waiting for them what don't answer correctly.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Trivia Land. Glad to have you here.
I'm glad to not be here alone this week.
Ooh,
Trivia Land's always more fun with friends.
Yeah, because then you can hitch your wagon or doom buggy or Matterhorn
Pick it up when someone's
bobsled.
putting down or something, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many options.
So many.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if you need that tonight or not. I got 4 questions ready for you, and we'll get underway with the first one. What are the names of the 3 Mexican restaurants that served the same spot in Frontierland?
Well, it's Rancho Zocalo,
Casa del or Day?
Casa de Fritos, and... Ooh.
I know, I can't remember what the... Was it something different, like a Casa de blank, before they got the Frito sponsorship?
It might have been. Oh,
We're going to pass.
we're going to pass on that third one, James.
Gonna pass on the third one. All right. Then we'll move on. Question number 2. What unique sponsorship element did the Disneyland People Mover, rest in peace, feature, and how did it integrate it into the ride?
Oh, wasn't it Goodyear?
Goodyear tires, and it propelled the
that-
vehicles.
I guess that was smart because it showed like how much wear and tear.
Did you read the Imagineering story book?
I
Okay.
did not.
So it was interesting because I just read these chapters about this. So what's interesting?
What good timing.
What's interesting was they developed the tire kind of thing for the Matterhorn
Oh, yeah, for the site, yeah.
to get the bobsleds back up or whatever. And then when they did the Ford Magic Skyway for the World's Fair, they used those to push the convertible Ford vehicles around. And then they didn't bring that attraction to Disneyland. They brought like the dinosaurs or whatever for the railroad.
Yeah.
But then when they made the People Mover, they used that. But then you got even crazier because when you went to Disney World, they do it through magnetic induction now. So, and it was sponsored by Goodyear. What a great sponsorship.
Goodyear, yep. And it was interesting because the tires, like, if you never saw the People Mover, like, you would assume, if you were just thinking about it, that the tires would be on it like it was a car or something, where they would be perpendicular to the body of the thing, but they were actually parallel. They were on their sides. They were?
Yep.
Why did
They were in the middle of the track, and they were all along the
right.
track.
It was in the middle. That's
Yep.
what it was. You couldn't see them.
Yeah, because you were on a track.
That's right.
But the propulsion was the spinning wheels,
the tires. That's
which
right.
is which was one of the great reasons that it didn't like ever break down, because none of the vehicles would ever break down, because like the whole thing would have to break down.
Yeah.
Because as long as the wheels kept spinning, and even if a couple wheels stopped spinning, the rest of them could keep going. You know, ingenious. Bob Gurr, man, smart man.
Yep.
All right. Third question for you. I've picked out 5 scenes from the Alice in Wonderland attraction, and I'm
boy.
asking to put them in order.
Oh, this one's okay.
So, scene number 1. Guests fall down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
Scene number 2. Singing flowers in the garden. Scene number 3. The unbirthday Mad Tea Party scene with the Mad Hatter and March Hare. Scene number 4. The Queen of Hearts plays croquet with flamingos and hedgehogs. And scene number 5. The courtroom where playing cards chase the guests.
Okay, so the courtroom. Okay, unbirthday's the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So unbirthdays. We're
Rabbit
working
hole.
backwards.
Rabbit hole's 1.
Yes. Rabbit hole's 1.
The flowers are 2.
Flowers 2. Courtroom is 4 because that's after
Yep.
you played croquet with the queen, which was 3. So rabbit hole, singing flowers, the queen playing croquet, the courtroom, and then the unbirthday party.
I feel like we did really good on that one.
I'm impressed with us.
Actually, James, when you said the first two, the rabbit hole and the singing flowers, I'm like, are you going to put these all just in the correct order as you give them to us? Because that'd be hilarious.
It was really tempting to make you just kind of doubt yourselves of like, there's no way James would do this, right?
That would actually be
and yet he
kind
did.
of brilliant.
Well, maybe I did. It is Wonderland. You never know what happens.
Yeah, nothing makes sense there.
That's true.
And since you had such a good time with that one, I'll give you what I think might be a more challenging history question for the last one. So I want to know, which Disneyland Railroad locomotive did Walt Disney personally pilot on opening day?
Oh,
and
no.
what two guests did he have on board with him?
Ernest
I
S.
was going to
Marsh.
say, was it Ernest S or P?
S.
S.
The Ernest Marsh.
I think it's the Ernest P. Marsh. No. S, because it's the EP Ripley.
Yeah. When you say guess, like, does the plush Mickey Mouse count?
That does not count.
Okay.
Dang it.
No.
That's all I
Real human beings
Didn't he
were
have-
aboard.
Did he have
He probably
Ronald
had
Reagan?
Art Linkletter and Ronald Reagan on board, right? The hosts from the show?
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Ronald and Art.
Yeah.
You missed it. That was one of my questions last week, and I couldn't remember who else was there except for Ronald.
Oh, Art
Host.
Linkletter, yeah. Again, reading the Imagineering story, they're talking about opening day
See,
and
look,
Ronald
there you
Reagan and Art Linkletter being there.
All right. You all made pretty quick work of my questions this week. Not a lot of debate, not a lot of discussion, just a lot of let's go with it. And so I guess we're going to have to see if your gut's right on all of these or not. But first, we got to go talk to somebody.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we are talking with somebody who I've listened to on podcasts for a long time. It's kind of bringing two worlds of mine together, technology and Disney. Welcome David Sparks from MacSparky. He does a bunch of tech podcasts. He makes field guides, which are some really awesome like video tutorials on how to use technology, and a Disneyland fan. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too.
So to start things off, Dave would like to get to know you and your Disney history a little better. So can you tell us your Disney story? Just basically what kind of got you interested in either your fandom with the parks, the movies, the company as a whole?
Yeah, I am definitely a Disney Corporation fan. I'm a fan of all the products they make. And my wife and I both have a shared love for it. When we were in I grew up in Southern California, but we didn't have a lot of money. So we would go like every 2 or 3 years. And, growing up, my visits were kind of the classic thing where you didn't sleep the night before and you went like the Baton Death March all day. But we didn't care. We had a great time. And I have so many memories of it, when it was just Disneyland before they built DCA. And my dad was a lumber salesman of all things. And he was really good friends with a contractor who did a lot of work for Disney, the Disney Corp and Disneyland. I think Imagineering at this point kind of has their own contractors, but this was back in the 60s and the 70s. And so he would tell us great stories about, working with them on it. And then when I got to college, my sweetheart got a job on Main Street, who eventually became my wife now of over 30 years. And she loved the company and she would tell me about how fun they made being an employee. And I was like working a lot of jobs. And I'm like, that's a great place to work. Because, they need you when you're out of school the most. And it was a great job. And me getting the job is kind of a story in itself. I can tell you if you want. But the short version is I was a Jungle Cruise skipper for like 3 or 4 years as I went through college and law school. And then, of course, eventually my wife went on to make it a career and we got married, and she was in retail management at first, but she was also in attractions management. Then when we had our second child, she decided to stay home, and Disney was great about that. So she stayed home with us, and we raised our two daughters. And, as they got older, she took like, I think a 16 or 17 year break. She went back and they found space for her.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she still works with the company. She's gone back to work. A lot of her friends that she worked with when she was young. And it's just a great company. So we love the company. We're friends with a lot of people in the company, but we're just super fans. And so like for that break period, we had passes every year. I still have a pass. You know, my wife can get me in free on occasion, but that's not enough. So I pay for a pass.
Yeah.
And I am there. I mean, I was there 2 days ago, just as an example, but I go almost at least weekly, and there's just something special about it to me. I mean, in addition to just what a great place it is and how much work they put into giving the guest a great experience, I have also the benefit of every square inch of it for me is dripping in memories between my family and my daughters and all these years. So I am, to put it lightly, a huge Disney fan.
Of course. Well, that gives us a great start for a lot of things to talk about in the future, but let's go through our couple other questions and we'll get back to all that. So I would say normally on a first day of a visit, but you know, you live close enough that you probably don't go for days at a time. But when you go, which way do you go? Do you go left towards Adventureland? Do you go through the castle? Do you go towards Tomorrowland? And we've added this because people started talking about it. Do you have a tunnel under the train station that you
preferred
go to?
Tunnel? That's a good question. Yeah, I think I generally sway toward the left tunnel. There is something really nice about emerging from it, and usually you see the fire truck and the vehicles, which is, by the way, if you are a Disney fan and you haven't gone in someday and just ridden all the vehicles, you have a treat in store for you. That is actually quite fun. I think the left tunnel gives you those feels more than the right tunnel. Because the right tunnel, like, you got the bathroom, you know, it's like not the same. Yeah.
So for some reason, both Tag and I have always been right tunnel people for like no reason. Probably just because we're American and you're conditioned to stay on the right side. And now with your description, I feel like we need to give the left tunnel a chance.
Yeah, you gotta give it a shot. I'll tell you the truth. I go through the right tunnel plenty as well. But for me, it's just like I have a preferred trip to Batuu because I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And I love going the long way, you know, go all the way down through New Orleans down, you know, and just take the long path to Batuu and enter into Rebel territory and head slowly up there, just kind of let it all build up. I like the build up.
I agree. We went the first time we entered. It was not that way. I don't remember if we went.
You remember the first time we went?
Yeah, because I remember thinking it was just kind of like boom, like you're there.
Yeah,
and the next time we went and we came through
did
and
through Frontierland?
I think we did Frontierland first.
Yeah.
And we went through like the Critter Country. I'm like, this is a much nicer because you kind of like slowly like transform from I guess it's Bayou Country forest area into like the Batuu forest, and it's a much more gradual, not as like poof.
That's how, because I'm of a certain age where all my friends are Star Wars nuts, and but I just really like to bring new people in the long way, and to kind of like let them just kind of enjoy it. Don't you love how in Batuu you just are completely isolated from the park? I mean, the train goes right by and you don't even hear it, and those Imagineers did a great job. Of really making you feel like you're somewhere else.
I feel like you're the first person probably that we've had on as a guest that like really, truly, deeply appreciates Batuu. Because I feel like, there's always everybody talks about, oh, there's only the 2 attractions and, oh, it could have been better. And where are all the characters and blah, blah, blah. But every time I've heard you talk about Galaxy's Edge and Batuu, you really enjoy it. And that's great.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be clear. I agree. I think they should have more characters, and Scott Trowbridge, the lead Imagineer of that, I think I'm like a few steps away from him getting a restraining order, because every time I see him, because he's there, he's there often with his team. I'm like, first, I love what you did as, I grew up with Star Wars. This is like a dream come true. But you built like the perfect playset with no action figures, and and he says, yeah, we're working on it. I think they get it, but for whatever reason, it's just slow. And I get jealous of Marvel where they get everybody all the time,
Yeah.
But with the faults, they did such a good job. I mean, before COVID, when it first opened, and I haven't done this as much anymore. I wish I should. Is my wife would go in, and sometimes the job she had then had a lot of short shifts, like she'd have a 6-hour shift. So I would take her to work, and then I would just go over to Batuu with my iPad, and I'd work there for a full day. And I never left Batuu. I'd stay there the whole time. And I was there so much, and then I got to where I'd kind of dress like a rebel, And the stormtroopers would give me a hard time. I was loving it. And then what the best part, the ultimate bragging right, was it got to a point where Chewie no longer would like treat me like a guest, but more like a citizen. Like he'd walk past me and just give me a high five. It wasn't like, you don't need to like get a picture with me. I get it,
Yeah.
but hey, good to see you here today,
That's awesome. There you go. We need to create a new thing. You've got the people that sit on Main Street on the porch. They've got their nickname is Porch Potatoes. So we need some sort of group for Batu, like
people.
that. Your honorary citizens of Batu.
Yeah. I still do that a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good. That's good.
So kind of to wrap up the first of our little planned questions here, getting to know you style, what is your favorite attraction? So even though this is a Disneyland podcast, you can choose any attraction from any of the Disney parks if you'd like.
Yeah, you sent me that question in advance, and I thought, why on earth would I pick something outside of Disneyland? You think I'm crazy?
Just in case, yeah.
But it's going to have to be for me the Jungle Cruise, because I spent so many years there, and I still love that ride, and it has a special place in my heart.
So what is it, apart from your personal connection from being a skipper for 3 to 4 years, what is it about the attraction that just keeps bringing you joy? Because obviously you've taken many, many trips around.
Part of it's nostalgia. I loved it when I was a little boy, and also, having given those cruises. But one of the things I love about the Jungle Cruise is that the cast, and I'm a huge fan of Disney cast members, and this is a ride that lets the cast member, really soar. Like when someone's grouping you on a roller coaster, they have almost no effect on your enjoyment of that attraction. But on the Jungle Cruise, and to a lesser extent Storybook, a good skipper makes the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time you go, it's a different ride, and you just don't know what's the skipper going to do? Sometimes they're disappointing, but usually they're pretty good. And it's just fun seeing how they decide to take it on. It's like going to a show.
So do you have a favorite Jungle Cruise joke?
Or
one that stands out to you, maybe?
Not really. I would get in trouble when I worked on it for illegal jokes. I'm pretty sure I never heard anybody. I don't know if they do it anymore. I used to have one that say, if you leave your kids here, we're going to take them to the small world and make them sing that song. And I got in a lot of trouble for that. And I still hear it once in a while, and it always makes me smile when I hear it.
That's funny.
My illegal joke is probably my favorite one. But yeah, when I worked there, it was all boys, and we were just a fraternity, and we had so much fun, and we did. And I mean, the way they run it now is a much tighter ship. I'll just say, I'm not sure I would last a whole 8-hour shift at this point. I think they'd be like, you know what? Sorry, buddy, you got to go. But in the days I was on the Jungle Cruise, it was a little more wild, and we had a lot of fun.
I was gonna say, we've heard stories of different initiations and stuff like that used to happen. Well,
they call them deadheads. It was before they built the Splash Mountain, and it was really quiet out in Adventureland at night. And there weren't enough guests to fill every boat, so you would just send a boat around empty, and that would give you all these opportunities. Like you would park it underneath the Schweitzer Falls and just lay across the bow like you'd been shot, and we used to there used to be right outside the exit. Now it's stroller storage, but there was there's a little shop there, and they sold these big rubber pythons. And so on the dock, we would grab the snakes, and then when the boat was coming in, we'd roll around on the dock like we were fighting the snake. And as the boat would come in, we'd stand up and just fling it in the boat, and there's no way they'd let you do that anymore.
Right.
It's kind of sad, because I feel I guess it takes a certain type of guest, right? I feel we're all the type of guest that we would enjoy that and think that was hilarious, but it's probably not so funny to the person who has a death fear of snakes or something, or a heart condition.
Yeah, exactly.
Or doesn't realize. I always enjoy when you're on a Jungle Cruise boat, and it takes people half the cruise to realize, oh, these are jokes. They're not being serious, where they're not laughing. Then all of a sudden they loosen up oh, okay.
You guys want me to go down the rabbit hole on Jungle Cruise?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, is how I got the job is kind of funny. Back in the day, the the train goes through a building where, you see the dinosaurs.
Mhm.
If you ever look at the Disneyland, like on Google Earth or whatever, you see there's a red brick building out there. It used to be the administration building. I don't know if it's true or not, but I had heard the story that the reason the train goes through is that it allowed it to become a tax write-off because it was an attraction. But that was the big administration building. So you'd go in there and you could literally hear the train running through the middle of the building as you're there. And that was where you'd go and interview for a job. And so I'd go in there. My wife had already started working there, her girlfriend at the time.
Mhm.
And I said, I really like Disneyland. And it seems like you have a lot of fun. And they really do make it fun for cast members. So I went down there and I got my interview, and they're like, okay, well, and I was at the time I was in college, and they were saying, do you have a preferred attraction? And I said, yeah, I want to be on the Jungle Cruise. I loved it as a kid. I was on a debate team in college. I did acting. I was very good in front of a group. And they said, well, we've got a lot of outdoor vending jobs like popcorn. And I said, well, honestly, if that's all you have, then I don't want the job. I don't want to sell popcorn. It's just like, that's cool. I said, that's fine. But what I really want is just the Jungle Cruise. And I walked out of there, and my wife says, hey, how'd it go? And I told her, and she's like, you're crazy. There's no way they're giving you a job. They like, who does that in an interview and tells them, and then they gave me the job. So there you go. And the funny thing is, at least, and this is all, I'm talking very early 90s now. So I'm sure everything's changed and is better now. But when I was there, most people, when you got on Jungle, you couldn't wait to get, advanced to Thunder Mountain. It was just an attractions division, because that was like the big league, right? It's a roller coaster, all the safety stuff, and you got a lot of training. And because I worked there for a while, and then I left when I started, because I was a lawyer for 30 years. But when I started law school, I quit. But then after I finished my first year of law school, I got an internship that didn't pay anything. So I went back, and they brought me back that summer. I worked. So I worked during the day in court, and at night I would go work at Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, that's fun.
Because I love the job. But that's why I say 3 or 4 years. But they offered several times to train me on Big Thunder, and every time I declined. I did get trained on Columbia, Tiki, the Mark Twain, and the Swiss Family Treehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the other ride I really love is the Mark Twain, because I worked on that a lot. But mainly, I was the guy who just wanted to do Jungle Cruise all the time. And like my friend, I was easy to trade shifts with, and a lot of people didn't really like that. I think it is stressful, like if you're not comfortable talking and like giving the spiel. But for me, it was just a joy, So that's how I got into it. But I had so much fun. People would like come to the dock and they'd say, oh, we want Skipper Dave's boat. People would like ask for me. And I really looked at it like just a thespian performance. And like every time you got a fresh crew on, you'd be like, okay, so how am I going to play this group? And you'd like try and look at them and figure them out. And I had so much fun doing that. I mean, to this day, I think it was probably the most fun job I ever had in my life. It was just, because when you are at the business end of an attraction, the people who go through all the hassle of getting parked and getting the kids in and paying for the tickets and all that, this is the payoff for them. And you get to deliver that. And I really just enjoyed it. And I really, I did all sorts of things that you weren't supposed to do. Things there's no, like at night when it was a slow, I would let a kid drive.
Oh,
If there's a little kid, I just let him drive. But my whole spiel was like that I was on probation and I was worried I was going to get fired. So I didn't want him to crash the boat, and so I would like, and the kid would get totally stressed out and the parents would figure it out. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out the first turn. Right. But that was my spiel. And it was just like, I had all these different weird spills I would do. Like I had one on grad night that was completely dirty. And again, like, I'm sure I'd get fired if they did that,
Yeah.
It was just so fun though. I had so much fun.
So I don't know if it was like this in the 90s, but one of the things that we really enjoy at the park now that we've recently found in the last 3 or 4 years is that there's kind of this rivalry, if you will, with the canoe operators. That they are also very funny, but they it's like the other version of a Jungle Cruise. Was this a thing when you were there? Yeah,
and I believe the keelboat guys were kind of like that too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You guys want to hear about the funnest jungle cruise I ever took?
No,
Yes.
not at all. Nope. No.
I went in this is, I mean, I've told this story on my podcast, and somebody wrote in and said, there's no way that's true. That like you completely made it up. And I'm like, no, this is 100% true. I got a shift once. Like I had a free day. For some reason, I had the day off school, and I called down and said, hey, you got any shifts? And they're like, yeah. And it was like a Tuesday afternoon in the fall. It was like slow period. And back then, there were slow periods at Disneyland. That's not true anymore.
No,
but there
it's
were
not.
back then.
If only.
And we had a full boat of Korean businessmen. They must have been at the Anaheim Convention Center or something. But they had a guy with the flag in front of them. And I'm pretty sure he's the only one that spoke English. And he sat next to me, and we just loaded the boat with these guys in suits. And they were very friendly. But, I told their host, I said, look, these are all puns. And it's all English. It's not going to make any sense to him. And he said, that's fine. He said, just drive around slow. They're going to want to take pictures, And I'm like, great. So we start going around, and I'm getting bored. Like, these guys are sitting here taking, but you feel like you're not doing your job, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we were going through the elephant pool, I lean over to my host. I say, how do you say duck? And he said, like, quack, quack. Because it must have been spring, because there were a lot of ducks, back, you see the ducks in the, in the water. And I said, no, like hit the deck. And he said, hoyo, hoyo. That's something like that. I don't remember the exact word, but it was something like that. And I said, okay. And so we go through the bathing pool, then we come up, the squirter goes over the bow, and they're taking pictures. And then I hit the throttle, and it starts coming back in. And for the first time in the whole trip, I pick up the mic and I just scream, hoyo! And I just scream, it's like, and they look at me in this sense of panic, and they didn't duck. They literally went to the floor of the boat. And I saw distinctly one guy had like back in the early 90s, camcorders were a lot bigger. And I watched one just slam into the engine cowling as he was hitting the deck. And I was thinking, this is the day that I'm going to get fired.
You're like, oh no.
And they were quiet, and they look at me, and they look at each other, and they just started laughing hysterically. They just thought it was the funniest thing, And they get up, and it like totally changed the whole cruise, right? And they're all just laughing at them, but nobody's taking pictures. We're driving to the cruise, they're all looking at each other laughing, And we're heading to Schweitzer Falls, and I point at it, and they look at me, and I say hoyo again, and they all I mean, these guys were super getting into it, And then we got around to the native village, and I did it again, and they hit the deck, and by this time it's just like they're almost like drunk with laughter. Everybody's just like it's just like the funniest thing that's ever happened to them. And as we're pulling out of the jungle, at the end, and my buddies are on the dock, and everybody's laughing on the boat, and they're like looking at me like, Dave, what's going on, And I'm like, nobody's ever going to believe this. So I stopped the boat right before the dock. You know how there's the unload dock. I just stop it there, and I turn around and look at them, and they start like, they're like, oh, hoyo, hoyo. They start like kind of like chanting it, And then I scream it again, and they hit the deck harder than ever before. And then they're all just laughing. We come in, we're taking a bunch of pictures, and all my buddies at the dock are just like, what was that?
They have no idea what this meant or means.
Yeah.
But
like,
it was,
what is going on?
It was fun. Really fun. And like that was not a typical day, but when you're a cast member and the stars align, you get an experience like that. And it's just great.
I always feel bad for the cast members on that attraction when because we've been on boats where nobody is reacting to anything that the skipper is saying. And you kind of feel bad because they're putting effort into it. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know. I would hate that part of that job, but I'm glad that you found a way in a most impossible situation.
Well, I mean, the trick is when you have a dead boat is just to try and find a way to bring them to life, and try something different. And just I don't know, I really took it seriously, and just because it was not I don't know, it was just fun for me to do that. And back in the day, they didn't have radios on the boats. Well, they occasionally would have radios, but they didn't have radios on all the boats. And the way the system works is it's a rail with wheels on it. And there's certain parts of the jungle where you go from very deep to shallow. And if the skipper doesn't manage the boat right, the wake of the boat could lift the boat literally off the rail, and they would call it a derail. And there was no way to call it in because we didn't have radios. So they had different ammo, like the ammo we would shoot. Actually, I was there before we had to shoot the gun in the air. We would shoot at the hippos when I was there. But there was red ammo too. And if you went the red ammo and you hit 6 shots, that was telling the rest of the river that you were derailed. And then like the other boats had to do things and they had to come kind of rescue you. I never had a derail, but occasionally you get stuck behind one, and then you'd have a group of guests there for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was tough.
I was just thinking about how you were going to school to be a lawyer, so very serious stuff, and how you had that summer where you were interning, so you're kind of doing like more focused, serious stuff to that. That had to have been so great to be able to just kind of relax and just have fun while going on the Jungle Cruise. And I feel like that's probably what happened with your boat full of businessmen that were in their suits, right? They were all very serious about stuff. So I'm sure that's why the experience was just so much more enjoyable for them, because it let them kind of break out of that seriousness and like be ridiculous and be like a kid again, which is one of the beautiful things about Disneyland.
And, I was a trial lawyer for like 15, 20 years of my career. And I really feel the Jungle Cruise really helped me get skills that I use every day in trial. Just figuring out the jury, figuring out how to connect, because you had, I think it was like a 12-minute cruise, and, every hour you did 4 or 5 of them, and you had a new group it was a great experience in terms of somebody who speaks in front of people.
Yeah. I would have never thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense.
I never even considered like the reading people aspect of it, because I thought, I haven't ever worked the Jungle Cruise, but just thinking I don't know, I just thought they got on and started telling jokes and saw what happened. But
they don't do it as much because we would always, me and a lot of my fellow skippers we would query the guests, like, hey, where are you from? And what is this your first time? And you'd find the people that would raise their hand and stuff, you would find someone. And simply, it was just a question of maybe, saying, oh yeah, it's colder here than Wisconsin, or you'd find some connection and make eye contact with them. As soon as you got them on your side, that's the way you avoid a dead boat, right? And as soon as 1 or 2 people are laughing, the other people feel like they can laugh too. Yes. It's like, it really is just a really leveraged kind of bootstrapping effort. And, connecting with the guests during the load was a huge deal to me,
So eventually you left, I assume, because lawyer, you had to become a full-time lawyer. What was that like that decision to leave?
Well, I mean, that was my career. I mean, I was super into being a lawyer. But it's funny, like I got an externship with a federal judge, and I remember in his interview with me, he was like, so tell me about the Jungle Cruise. It's like, I feel like that skipper badge has opened doors for me, or at least given me a way to talk to people that, like, when you put it on your resume, it is something to talk about. And I'm sure that early in my career that helped.
Yeah, I totally believe that. We've actually had other guests that have talked about how in their career later on post Disney that really helped. And actually more back in the day, more than recently, unfortunately, it seemed like, people knew the people that worked at Disneyland or with the Disney company were kind of a step above like the regular average Joe. And so it was something that was like desired, like, oh, you work for Disney, you're going to be an excellent person.
Yeah. And my wife went through back in the 90s, they had a management program, and she would come home and tell me the stuff they were teaching her. And it was very high level training, Yeah. I mean, they got it. I remember her first boss telling her, and then she told me, her first boss told her, my job is to teach you to replace me. I want you to be so good that you can replace me. Yeah. And throughout my legal career, I always told that to young people coming in, and I want, it gave me a frame or a mindset in terms of training people. It's like, I want to uplift them. And that was like the whole attitude they had towards her when she was kind of getting started.
Well, there's a whole generation of people that especially from like the early years of the park, that was a career. It's still possible today. It's just not as easy as it was, or they weren't looking to develop over time like that.
Yeah.
So let's kind of transition. So, right, you worked at the parks, then you had to take a step back to do your career path. And now you're kind of, looking at the parks in a different way, just purely as like a guest. So let's kind of talk about what are some of the things that you really enjoy and appreciate as a guest.
Yeah, I really love the little things about Disneyland. And we have a lot of friends that come from out of town who've never been or have very little experience. And one of my favorite things is, and our friends call it like a Sparks visit, like we take you and we show you the little things. We show you the initials in the railings, or the light bulb that's red and white in Coke Corner. And like, we like to like show people, the degree of caring. I'm very, in the work I do, and just my personality is one of which nothing makes me happier than to see somebody who cares about something they make, more than they probably should, and to bring that detail in. And I love that about Disneyland. I mean, I remember when I worked there on Jungle, I was in the break room and there was an old guy there, and he told me that he had worked there when Walt did. He had been there since day one. And I said, "Did you ever see Walt?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "One morning I was painting wrought iron somewhere on Main Street." And he said, "And I saw this shadow, like someone was standing over my shoulder. I turned around, it was Walt Disney." And he was really friendly to me, but he was making sure that I was getting the brushstrokes right for wrought iron. Like, he cared that much that like, hey, that painter's over there, let me go make sure he's doing it right. And I love that. I love that whole attitude. And, when you see that at Disney, but when I see it anywhere in my life, I always stop and admire it. And when someone makes a product that, you can tell they cared about the small details. So to answer your question, I love to go into the park and look at things that get fixed or small details. And like when they add something new, how did they do it? Just the other day I was in line at the Tropical Hideaway, which is one of my favorite places in Disneyland. If people haven't been there, it's just a great use of that space. It used to be the Tahitian Terrace restaurant. They used to do hula shows there, and then they turned it into an Aladdin thing, which I never really felt like worked. But now you can go there and get a cool drink, and it's shaded, and the music's great. And like, so we go there if it gets hot. And I was in line, and I looked up, and I realized they have a testament to the old Aladdin place there. If you look at the shelf when you're in line, they've got a bunch of like Agrabah knickknacks on the shelf there. And it's like, and I'd been there for going there. I've probably been there 30 or 40 times, and I never noticed that. And I looked up and I asked, complimented my wife. She's like, "Oh yeah, that they put that there because of the prior, occupant."
Yeah.
And I'm like, it just makes me crazy that that's been there and I missed it, So I'm always looking for stuff like that. I really get a lot of joy out of that. I am not as much of an attraction guy. It's like when me and my family go, we often go and people watch and we have a meal. Maybe we'll go on a ride, but we love the live entertainment. So whenever there's new shows and stuff, but that's just because I've been there so many times. I'm an oddball,
I think that some of the best stuff that the park has to offer is not attractions. In fact, I think that people that go, we've had friends, people that listen to the show that we've met that talk about that, attractions are their thing. Like they go and they just want to, their day is, can I get on everything in the park?
Can I hit them all? Yeah.
And they miss things. And like I do another podcast that's kind of a roundtable podcast, and my co-host on that one, he had never seen Fantasmic. And I'm like, how have you never seen Fantasmic?
What?
And he's like, well, Fantasmic is the best time to ride everything that's around the river because everybody's watching the show. No one's in line for the rides. And I said, are you serious? And so finally, in the last couple of years, he finally saw Fantasmic. Now, he's also a Disney World person, and he totally agrees. He's seen both Fantasmics now. that Disneyland's is definitely superior to Disney World's. And so like maybe he came with the lens of what Fantasmic is in Disney World and was like, oh, who cares? But yeah, I think, all that. We actually, and this isn't like a sponsored thing. They're not paying us for this, listeners. But we have some people that we've met that are friends of ours now that they make like a scavenger hunt game in the park. I don't know if you've heard of it before. It's called Where in the Park. And they're these little cards, and they have like a digital version now too, that they found all these small details in the park, and the whole like point of it is that as you're at the park, you go find these little things. And
I'll have to check that out.
I was gonna say I've got a pack right here.
So Teresa and I tried to do one of these one of the times when we were at the park, and it was like, this is a lot more challenging than we expected it to be.
Yeah.
So like, here's here, you'll know where this one is, I'm sure. But they take a picture and then like remove all of the background so you don't have any context, and it's just whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, you have to go like find where specifically in the park that thing is. That looks to me like it's probably Amba too. You would know better.
It looks to me like it is a pirate symbol or something, maybe from one of the flags.
But then there's other things that are like much more obscure. Like this is probably some tile work, maybe somewhere.
I suspect that's the wallpaper in the Haunted Mansion.
Could be.
Raleigh Crump designed that wallpaper as because they had the Haunted Mansion went through a lot of iterations, and they were at one point it was going to be a museum of the weird.
Yes.
And they incorporate a bunch of Raleigh's imagery into things like the wallpaper. I suspect that's what that is. I'm not sure.
It's but you're talking about the details, and this I just thought I would bring it up because I'm like, we keep meaning to bring it with us on future trips too, because it was a lot of fun. And what's neat about it too is like, again, this isn't a sales pitch, it's just to explain it, is that if they have a QR code thing that you can scan now too, and like, because the park's always changing, so if something, if a holiday overlay is covering something or what's behind construction walls or something, they'll tell you like, hey, this card you won't be able to find right now, here's like a digital replacement for that so you can still do something. So
I remember you talking about Fantasmic. So I was there when they built it, and I remember I had a shift where I was on Mark Twain, but Mark Twain was down because they had drained the river, and they said, okay, your job is to stand in front of this sign. They had a painted sign of Fantasmic. There was like a dragon on it and a couple other pieces of imagery, but we had no idea what it was going to be. And they said, just stand there and tell people that we're making this thing. So I would make up a different story about what it was to every guest that walked up, and I would see if I could go the whole shift without repeating myself. And none of it was true, but it was so fun. But then when they did the employee like preview, it's like, oh my goodness, this thing is amazing. That music, just the way they suck you in, and then Mickey comes at the end and shoots sparks out of his fingers. Oh man.
Yeah. And nothing that you made up probably was anywhere close to what they actually did.
Yeah, exactly. In reality, was better than the story.
That's even better.
Yeah, we're hoping, we're big fans of Murphy the Dragon. Yeah. We're hoping that they'll have a replacement at some point for him. But, her, them. It's probably better.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. But I would definitely like to see
it. Doesn't feel quite as epic without the dragon.
Even like maybe someday the puppet was great. I don't know if you guys remember the puppet. The puppet was great. I don't know.
I know. I'm like, that's not like somewhere maybe in the Disney archives you can dust that out to bring it out for now.
Yeah.
Well, Teresa really wants them to bring back, like, she's like the Ursula, the inflatable Ursula that used to be there.
Yeah.
TikTok, the crocodile that used to follow the
Flotsam and Jetsam. And
hey man, Disney fans are passionate because we love this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I was really happy when they brought back the Peter Pan segment over the pirate segment. Yeah.
And I love pirates. That's like, I didn't dislike pirates. I just thought the Peter Pan one was better. Like, just more whimsical. I don't know. It just fit better.
It fit better. Yeah. It fit better.
I used to do that Columbia spiel. My favorite part of the whole thing was if you be smoking, you best be on fire.
That's awesome.
We had so much fun talking with David Sparks that we will continue our conversation with him next week.
Well, in episodes 222 and 338, we spoke with Debbie and Steve from Designer Park Company about their rope drop park view and single rider bags, plus more that we use and love. If you've been wanting to get one of these park goer bags for yourself, you can use our promo code DLWeekly to get 10% off your next purchase at designerparkco.com.
Woo! Welcome back to Trivia Land, Chef. My name Raymond, and I hope them answers are bigger and better than this here back porch I got attached to me. Don't you know Evangeline and I wish y'all the best of luck.
Well, welcome back to Trivia Land. I hope you two are excited because, you get to do at least a little bit of learning today.
I think, for the most part, I'm probably jinxing this, but I feel like we could have gotten everything right if we could have just remembered the other name of the restaurant.
And I think that's the original name, because I don't think it was Casa de... I don't think it was originally Casa de Frito. I think that was...
He's going to say what it is, and we're both going to kick ourselves.
We're either going to kick ourselves or going to be like, huh.
Yeah. Well, let's find out.
Let's find out, because you're talking about that first question, so I'll get you the answer right away. My question was, what are the names of 3 Mexican restaurants that serve the same spot in Frontierland? As you both were correctly able to identify, I was looking for Rancho del Zocalo, which is its current state and has been since 2001. You gave me Casa de Fritos, which was there from 1955 to 1982. So you're missing the one in between that I know at least one of you would have been at the park for when it was open, and it was Casa Mexicana, which actually overlapped for about a month with Rancho while they were closing it down and opening it, and then Rancho eventually took over all that space.
Interesting.
Yeah, fascinating, right?
This is before I was a huge Disney fan. I was just going,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I learned something new.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't too far off, because didn't I say, wasn't it Casa something?
You said Casa something, and I'm like, Teresa's going to find this like she does.
You're just going to pull it out of the air.
Accidentally fall into the right answer.
Yep. Sometimes it's magic when that happens, right? All right, second question. What unique sponsorship element did the Disneyland People Mover feature, and how did it integrate into the ride? The People Mover was indeed sponsored by Goodyear, which supplied not only the tires you mentioned, but it contributed the Go Go Goodyear jingle to the onboard soundtrack that continued for a couple of years even after Goodyear stopped sponsoring it.
Go Goodyear jingle. Interesting.
Moment of silence for the People Mover. Okay.
That was abrupt. Okay.
Well, we don't want to... Nobody wants to listen to dead silence on their podcast.
Unless it's a Haunted Mansion podcast, and we love the dead silence.
It's like what I did for poor Madam Mim. We need a moment for the Sarah McLachlan.
Wow. I told you she was gone.
I know.
You just didn't.
But you know what?
Denial.
I wasn't wrong, though, because nothing went in her space. Maleficent went in the... Okay, sorry, we are way off topic. Go on, James.
Sometimes it has to happen. All right, question 3. I gave you 5 scenes from Alice in Wonderland, asked you to put them in order. I will just spoil it now. You got the correct order. It indeed does go down the rabbit hole, through the singing flowers, to the Queen of Hearts playing croquet, before the courtroom where the guards chase you, and then eventually you show up in the tea party scene, which was added during the 1984 refurb, because before you just turned around and unloaded, apparently. So,
Yep.
1984 added a bunch of characters to it as well that weren't there. I'm like, this is a fascinating reverb.
Well, that's because they talk about this in the Imagineering story book that I'm reading too.
Do you
really?
Yeah. Are you? What are you reading right now, Jake?
Is that the original idea for all the dark rides at Fantasyland was that you were the main character?
Yeah.
And people got confused.
Yes. So
because they were wondering why Alice or why
Peter Pan,
Snow White was nowhere to be found in their attractions.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, wild thinking, right? It makes sense, but better now that we got the characters to see. Anyway, back into deeper history. Last question of the week. Which Disneyland Railroad locomotive did Walt Disney personally pilot on opening day, and who was aboard? Walt Disney brought this train to the platform where he was greeted by Art Linkletter and Ronald Reagan. On the train with him, the number 2 engine, as you identified, which I believe is actually the EP Ripley.
Oh no,
that wasn't in the Imagineering storybook.
Oh, that's the reason.
Yep, and there's a nice picture here of it, so I'm going with it. On board was California Governor Goodwin J. Knight and AT&SF President Fred Gurley.
who would later have an engine, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Fail. We failed. We're going to turn in our Walt and Disneyland history card because that was, we should have at least known the train. I'm embarrassed.
I'm pretty sure you did say the number 2 even. So.
Did you? I for sure did not. Did you?
No.
You may have.
James is hearing things, but I appreciate him trying.
I'm trying. It sounded. I thought I heard that one, but yep, wrong. Locomotive passenger train.
Dang. So close.
So close.
So far.
Yep. But a good week regardless. Your confidence well rewarded. Good questions answered. We picked up a few great trivia questions from listeners as Tig and I were away recently, so I'm sure those are going to be quickly used up by producer Vern and myself as we go forward with more trivia questions. So if you've got great ideas, you know how to get them to us hopefully by now. If not, here's your reminder, dlweekly.net/trivia. There's a form there waiting for you.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
A special thank you to Sidell for editing the podcast and Andy Mack for all the wonderful character transitions.
I am the podcast that flaps in the night. I am the cliffhanger that has you hitting like and subscribe. I am DLWeekly.